Good afternoon. I'm the Fit Lawyer ATL, and we are live. Hey, y'all. So it's been about a week or so. Let me cut. Y'all struggle streaming. All right. So this is my first daytime live. So thank you all for tuning in. So we are here today to talk about the new immigration laws and the executive orders that our new president has put in place since day one, and just how they affect all of us. Was born here. My parents are from here, so this law didn't immediately affect my right to be here in the country. But I employ a housekeeper who has been waiting on a hearing to be legalized for 9 years, and the delays have not been any of her fault. They have been things like COVID, pushing the court system back. President Trump, we remember in 2019, the halt that he put on things, and it's just been delay after delay after delay. So I immediately thought about her, and immigration was at our house on Monday. And so it's just very heartbreaking that people that have been in this country for years and years and years, working in this country for years, are now afraid to leave home, afraid to go to work, uh, facing deportation. And guess what, guys? It's not just people who don't have citizenship paperwork, it's people who are actually legal citizens that are actually being swept up in these ICE raids that are occurring. So I got on Facebook the next morning, and one of our guests posted a video explaining how she was an immigrant in our country and the rights that they needed to take. She's an immigration attorney. And so I just saw that video and I was like, these steps are things that everyone needs to know. And a lot of people think that just because I'm not an immigrant, that it doesn't affect me, but it does. If you're a business owner, let's say you own a medical clinic and you have a patient or an employee that may have citizenship issues. You don't know for sure. And ICE shows up. What are you required to say? What are you required to do? So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So who we got in the building? So I see Perfect Peace was in here early, setting the tone, getting the likes up. So thank you so much, Perfect Peace. Gwendolyn, aka Unique Lady G Bar, was here. Hey, Mons is in the house. We got my number one moderator in the house, Alchemy. Thank you. She says she's driving. Okay, Swiss, don't be swerving. So stay safe. Sean D says, good afternoon, all. Thank you for tuning in. Miss CDB is in the house. This is my bestie talking about what matters. Go Fit. Yes, these are things that matter. I know the really, ASAP Rocky's gonna try. I understand, so people are tuning into that. We got some new Diddy news to break. I'll be back live later tonight to talk about that. But this is what matters because this affects us all. So I also want to educate you all about your rights in all areas. So this is what this show is about. GCS, if they have come here legally and kept their status updated to work here, they have nothing to worry about. And see, these are the misconceptions that I want to address on this show today. So that's what we're here to do. Poppy is in the house. Claps. Yes. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to get into it and bring up our guests because I got 3 lawyers in the back room. And if you know anything about lawyers, time is money and I ain't paying them. So I got an hour. Okay. So we're going to get right into this so that we can get it going. So the first attorney I'm going to bring up is Camala Sessoms. Ms. Sessoms is an immigration attorney in Atlanta. All these attorneys are immigration attorneys here in Atlanta. And Ms. Sessoms and I worked in a public defender's office together in Fulton County. So she is someone who knows all about the Fulton County shenanigans, as well as Judge Bando that I'll bring up as well. Attorney Judith Montgomery is also going to be coming up. And so we're just going to add them to the stage and get it started. All right, ladies, how y'all doing? We got 27 people in the house so far. Make sure y'all get my likes up. Get my likes up. All right. Your Fit Photographers in the house says good afternoon. GCS, I love the questions. Keep them. I'm starring those so I can come back to those when we get to the questions. So we can just really get into that. All right, ladies. So thank you. Thank you for being here. So these are some amazing immigration attorneys. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then we'll get going. Kamala, oh, you can go first. I'm sorry.
Okay. Hi, I'm Camala Suss. It's a pleasure to meet everybody virtually. I have been doing immigration since 2009, and my office is right here off of Buford Highway, so I'm like right in the midst of the heat of things. And I have a clientele that expands not just Hispanic people, but people from Haiti, people from Africa, people from all over the world. And so this is a really passionate project for me, just to make sure that everyone knows their rights. And that's why I'm excited about being on the show today, because I think people need to know what ICE can and cannot do, and how to protect yourself and your family and any of your friends that may be in the situation, or as Tiffany said, or the fit lawyer said, as I'll correct myself, the people that work for you or that come and help you with your day-to-day things, my housekeeper as well, and the people who do my lawn, and all of the daily things that we have that people are intricately involved. So I look forward to talking about this, and I will pass it over to, I guess, Attorney Bando. Or Judge Bando.
Thank you.
In this capacity, lawyer. But same likewise. I'm intimately connected to the immigrant community. My husband is from Ghana, West Africa. So just like you mentioned, when we have this conversation, especially in the media, it's typically about the Latino community. And it was also, our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and also our sisters and brothers from the continent of Africa. And so my client base is predominantly Black, so I don't deal with that many Latinos, but it's touching the community just as well. They were chasing down my hair braider ICE earlier this week. So I'm like, we can't deport her. How we gonna do my not list when I go on vacation?
Okay.
I'm trying to make light of it, but it's serious. But definitely it touches that. And so I'm looking forward to letting everybody know what we can and cannot do when all of this is upon us.
Yes, thank you. Miss Judith. Oh, okay.
Hi there. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Attorney Judith Montgomery. My office is Brookhaven off right before Druid Hills exit off of 85. So you can't miss it. It's a big sign. It says Atlanta Family and Immigration Law. And I have been practicing immigration for over 13 years now. And so I am an immigrant. I was born in Freeport, Bahamas, and I went through the immigration process. I came to the United States at the age of 4. So my story is a little bit different from most immigrants in that sense, because I came here as a child. But when I came, they didn't have what's now known as DACA. But I would have been considered a DACA or a dreamer in the sense that I did come here. This is the only country that I've ever known as home. And so I grew up believing that this was home for me. And I did not find out until I was a teenager that I was not a U.S. citizen and that I was going through the immigration process. And so I got a work authorization. I got a green card. I became a U.S. citizen in law school. So I'm very, very passionate about immigration and immigration rights. And so I think, like people were saying, even I am up in the air, right? Because I'm a naturalized citizen. And so what does that mean for folks like me? So this is a good conversation to have today. So I'm glad to be here. And I do represent both, like Attorney Bando said, the Black diaspora, because I think that those folks are forgotten. I would say that I represent a good bit of them, but I also represent a very large population of the Hispanic community. And I'm actually across the street from the Mexican Consulate. That is actually where my office is located. So it's very important to have this conversation. So Fit Lawyer, thank you for having us here today to talk about this.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. So let's get right into it, because you dropped some words in just your introduction that I have no clue what they mean. So a lot of people say, well, when you come here, why not just get legalized? Just get your papers. Can you all just speak to that process? I know, Judith, you actually went through that process, but can you all just give a little bit of that process to explain why it's not just that simple? Let's start. We can just start this. I'll just different ways. So let's start with Kamala this time, and then we'll switch it up.
Okay. Yeah. So the process, and I think Judith could probably talk to this even more since she went into it, but I will just say it's just not that easy because the way the immigration system is set up, you have to first become a legal permanent resident. And in order to do that, you usually, if you're going through the family process, it's either family that can petition for you or an employer that can petition for you, unless you're doing something that's a self-petition. And those are the three ways that you literally can gain status here in the United States. One of the things, like for Dreamers and for people who have temporary protected status, which is another form of protections for people who are from certain types of countries like Venezuela, they are only here on temporary status, and that's in the meaning of the name, temporary protected status. So they only have status for 2 years, and Dreamers only have status for 2 years. And so there's no pathway to citizenship for Dreamers or TPS individuals, which means that they are kind of stuck in this holding pattern. And so and that a lot of them are in that holding pattern because they do not have someone that can petition for them. And that leads to them being able to stay here, but never having like the benefits of a resident and then becoming a citizen. Being a resident requires, a lot of documents that you need to do, and having someone to petition for you can be difficult. You have to actually have a legitimate relationship with someone if you're going to do it through marriage, or you have to have a parent that's a citizen or a resident, but that still can require, a long process. If it's an employer and you came in without, if you're out of status, like you came in on a visa and you overstayed, you're gonna have difficulty having an employer petition for you. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but they're all it's all different processes that require a lot of time. I will let you ladies add to that, but that's kind of like a sum up. It's just not fast.
We spoke about the Dreamer process, and I know, Judith, in your intro, you were saying that wasn't even around when you were coming through. So what did you have to do to go through your process? Like, what steps were there? What process was it for you?
Well, the process really hasn't changed, unfortunately. It hasn't gotten any better. For all intents and purposes, it may have gotten worse that Trump is now in office. But to give some kind of context, my mom married my stepfather, who went through the process of becoming a green card holder, who became a naturalized citizen. They married. And so through their petition, when he petitioned for my mom, he also petitioned for me. And so that's how the process went. Now, let me give you a different context. So my stepfather petitioned for my mother, who is an immediate relative to him, because they're married. That's considered immediate relative. So a child, a spouse, a parent, those are considered immediate relatives, and which means that there is not a cap on how many visas can be given out for an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. But let's say my dad petitioned for my mom. She becomes a green card holder. He doesn't petition for me. She petitions for me. So now she's a green card holder, and so I'm her child. So now she can petition for me as an LPR, right? As a legal resident, she can petition for permanent resident. She can petition for me. However, it's going to take a little bit of time because now I'm in a category. So now we have different categories. When you're not considered an immediate relative to a U.S. citizen. And so I am a minor. I don't have a spouse. I don't have any children. That's usually the first preference. Then it goes into adult children who are single with no children. Then it goes to adult children who are married with children. So it goes into different categories. And you're talking about a time frame of 15 to 25 years before those petitions will get approved and a visa will be available. We're talking about people wait 20, 30 years outside the country for these petitions to get approved. And so that's why people take their chance in just coming to the United States, crossing the border, trying to get an immediate relative, because they know that sitting in Africa for 25 years isn't the way to go. Sitting 25 years in Mexico or Peru or Guatemala isn't the way to go. So just to give you an example, I was blessed and I was in a fortunate situation, but not everyone ends up in that situation. And that's why people take the risk that they take to travel through so many different countries where they can be robbed, where they can be raped, where they can be attacked, just so they can get to the US border. The trauma that they have to go through to even get to the US border, to be able to even say, I want to come in, I want to file for asylum. And it's because everyone is looking for a better life, a better way to support their family, to take care of their family. That's all it's about, quite frankly. We understand that there are bad seeds in the bunch, in every single bunch. But for the most part, these are hardworking people who just want an opportunity to take care of their family, provide for their family, have a shelter, and live freely, truly.
So that hearing about that 25, 30 years, Judge Bando, what? Like, I saw you nodding your head as well. So I never knew that it took that long. So when people like GCS, Judge Bando asked, so if they come here legally and kept their status updated to work here, they have nothing to worry about. But the process we just heard was 25 to 30 years. Judge, I know you said your husband was from Ghana. What kind of process did he have to go through in order to get here?
Well, he came as a student, and then of course he met me, and so things changed.
Yeah.
And so we were both students actually, and we met, obviously we got married, had a family. So I petitioned for my husband to be able to stay here once his student status expired. And of course, all my friends were like, girl, he probably using her for a green card. But 21 years later and 3 babies, I don't think it was a green card that would keep him, baby. But no, in all seriousness, I did. I petitioned for my husband. He came on a student visa, but fortunately, just like Judith mentioned, that because it's an immediate relative, he didn't have to wait 20 years. But like if you want to file for your siblings, or I want to say for instance, he's petitioning for his brother. His brother's going to be like 60 by the time the petition is approved. And that day, he don't want to come and start over in America. He's just going to be over there, living his life in Ghana. But the process is long. Maybe if they were younger, it would be the situation. So, a lot of people come on visitors visas. They come and they overstay. And when they overstay, they have to try to navigate. And so a lot of people do enter the country legally, just as many that enter unlawfully. But they come and they're here, and they've been here. They've been in 30 years, 40 years. And not just Latinos, our Asians, European immigrants. Like all of them, they come and overstay, but the conversation is just kind of hyper intensively focused on the Latin community. And that's just because they're closer and it's tangible. But like Europeans, Asians, Africans, Caribbeans, all the like come and stay, and they've been here. They're like a part of our community now.
They are. They'll have little pockets in certain cities where we enjoy their food, their culture, their clothing, all of that, their entertainment when they have like carnivals and all of that. But then we're wanting to just kick them out. So the executive order, January 20th, President Trump signed, I don't know, it was like over 100 executive orders. So a lot of things changed. Some stuff has been halted. I don't understand it all. Judge Bando, can you tell us like how did the executive order that he signed change things? How did these ICE raids start?
Well, so our previous administration we had safe places, like places that you should be able to go and be undisturbed. Your children should be able to go to school, be undisturbed. I should be able to worship whatever my God is or whoever I worship in peace. I should be able to go to the hospital if I'm hurting or something is going on and be treated in peace. So that was previously established. Do not raid schools, churches, and hospitals. And so that was taken away day one, week one. So we've all been watching the media. So now teachers are having to learn immigration law. Principals are texting me, asking me about what do I do? And so now, and children, I have like several friends who are principals of schools, which have a predominant Latino community population. And the students have stopped going to school. Like they are literally not going because they're afraid of what's going to happen. And families do not want to be separated. So that order took away the safe spaces that we had in place, that at least you can go to the hospital, your children can go to school, and you can worship your God in peace.
Yes, yes. And that was that safe harbor law. So that was that immediate change. And isn't that devastating that you have to worry about that? And so I do stay close to Buford Highway, and there was stories how the Plaza Fiesta was emptier this weekend because people are nervous. Once the ice race started, the nail shop has less employees there, so people just would rather stay at home and hide versus coming out and possibly being deported. Miss Sessoms, before the show started, people were saying, okay, so the ice race, like, how do they affect us all? And I think you were telling me about a story that from Minnesota or Michigan or something about a family. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it was really devastating. There was a family in Milwaukee, and they were speaking Spanish to one another, and they actually all got detained and taken to an ICE facility. And when they investigated further, they found out they were United States citizens who were from Puerto Rico, who speak Spanish. That's the language they speak in Puerto Rico. And so I think it really goes to, they're doing a lot of racial profiling. And going back to what you were saying, like, well, how do you prove? I think we mentioned, like, how do you prove that you're a citizen? Well, you're definitely going to want to keep, your resident card or your naturalization, a copy of your naturalization certificate with you, or your U.S. passport, or something to show, especially if you're speaking another language, because there's a lot of racial profiling going on. And they're not just doing it to people who are speaking Spanish, but also to Native Americans. There have been some Native Americans in different places getting arrested because they just look like they're Hispanic. So that's the really unfortunate part about this. And people are just going to have to, protect themselves and know their rights, especially when ICE comes showing up at their door.
Yeah. So basically, everyone, we just are, back to the point of keeping freedom papers on you at all times. That's basically what it is, proving that you are supposed to be here. So now you can't walk around and speak in your natural tongue because they are going to profile you and think that you're illegal, because Trump says he can just look and tell. And so it sounds like that is the mantra that ICE under his directive they're taking. And it's just so ridiculous. So what about that executive order prompted ICE to just start riding through cities and starting to do raids? Was it just because he took away the safe harbors, or what was their encouragement to just start rounding people up? Like, how do we get to the actual raid starting?
Because the priorities changed. Our last administration their priority was criminal people that were here unlawfully. Like, if you were a criminal, you committed serious crimes. Now it's like everybody can get it. So we have a different administration with a different priority. That's literally what it is. It was like, get rid of the criminals, previous administration, get rid of everybody. I mean, that's the kind of the nutshell version.
Yes, I agree with Attorney Bando in terms of priority, but I also want to share that this is just to terrorize people. But let's call a spade, that the Trump's administration, they are out to, it's to cause fearmonger, it's to cause fear, it's to cause panic, because while everyone is panicking over things that are not even really that important, these people aren't bothering anyone, he and his peons can continue to do what they're doing, and the policy changes that they're doing to terrorize America. I'm just going to call a spade. But in terms of deportations have happened under every single administration. This is not anything new under the sun. Mm-hmm. There were deportations under Biden. There were deportations under President Obama. Deportations are part of the process. It's just been hyper visualized by the Trump administration. There's no difference. There's airplanes going to other countries nonstop, year around. The focus has been, as long as you are here and you are a law-abiding citizen, you work, you're paying taxes. People don't even understand how much money the United States makes off of immigrants who are paying taxes. This is really good money that has helped the economy. I don't know what his thought process is in doing what he's doing, because it's only going to hurt the American people at the end of the day, what he's doing. But these folks pay taxes. They also spend money as well, right? That makes a big difference in our communities, in revenue that they bring. They build schools, they build churches, they build our roads. You know, they are hardworking people. They pick our produce. They work in the farms. They work in the chicken plants. These people make a difference in our community, in our society. And to see them being attacked, that they're literally going to these people's jobs as they're cleaning chicken so that we can get it on the shelf so that people can eat, people who are picking the eggs that people are saying are too expensive. These are the people that he is attacking. And so it's a very sad time here in America. And the states are going to feel it, like Irish is saying. Texas is feeling it, but it's not just Texas. The southern states are going to feel this the most. And so it's not right what he's doing, unfortunately. But what can we do is the question. And the answers are, I was telling people who follow me on my live right now, my position is, and it's the 10 steps that I gave you, was that if they come to your door, don't open the door. If they have to show you a warrant signed by a judge. If they don't have a warrant signed by a judge, you have no duty to open your door to these folks. The next step is to stay silent. Yes. Don't give them a whole bunch of answers. You don't owe them any answers. Don't say anything. You have the right to remain silent. When you are in the United States of America, I understand we can't help the people on the other side of the border. But if you are here and you have been living here, you have certain rights under the Constitution that cannot be taken away from you. And you have the right to exercise silence. You need to know your rights. You need to know your rights regardless of your immigration status.
And let me just say here, because this is the judge in me. So let's make sure we be, if it's an immigration officer, you don't owe nothing. If it's a post-certified state officer in the state of Georgia, you do have to identify yourself. That's it. I don't have to tell you nothing else. Right. But in Georgia, because that's what I do, I don't want people to get arrested when the officer is like, identify, you don't, and now you're arrested for obstruction of justice. So in the state, it was because I see it, because people watch the videos and then they see in other states you don't have to identify yourself unless you suspect of a crime. But in Georgia, you do. We are identified state. So people in Georgia, I just but only if it's a police officer. If it's an ICE officer, you mute. I'm not telling you my name. You ICE? No, nope.
Don't say nothing. Got it.
Well, the one issue is that people are saying that ICE is showing up, but they're not identifiable. So they cannot tell if it's an ICE officer or if it's a Georgia officer. I've told people, Georgia, they have to have some type of identification. They're going to have their badge. ICE, you may not be able to tell, because a lot of times they come in a nondescript outfit. It could be, black, brown, whatever. So you don't know who's at your door. And if you don't know who it is, you don't have to respond. And unless they can show you something through the window or slide it under the door.
I was just going to ask that. Do they have to identify themselves? Like if you ask, could you please show me your ID or a badge? Does ICE have to identify themselves?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I mean,
but having to do something and what happens on the streets.
Exactly.
It's different things. And you gonna tell on them to what president? And the president, what consequences are they gonna have for not following the law and saying, I'm ICE officer Rodriguez? No consequences.
I do want to mention that in the executive orders that have come out, there's the priority. Yes, everyone's kind of being targeted, but there are some specific priorities, and Right now, they're specifically looking for people who have been in the United States. They're looking to expedite remove people who have been in the United States less than 2 years. And so if you've been in the United States less than 2 years, you're more of a higher target because you have not had a lot of ties here. If you've been in the United States over 2 years, then you may still get detained, especially if you have a criminal record. But you do, it's not going to be as severe. You'll still have the right to probably go to court and do the things that you're right. So what we have been recommending, as Attorney Judith was saying, some of the rights, make sure that you show proof that you've been here for a long time. Because if you cannot show that you've been here over 2 years, you're probably going to get detained. And that's going to mean an expedited removal, which means you're not going to court. Even if you have a court date set out for 2026 or 28, that court date, ICE has the authority now under the executive order to cancel that court date and just put you on a plane and remove you from the United States.
So that's pretty much probably what happened to the 80 immigrants from Colombia that the president was trying to return. I wonder how, so they don't get due process. So it's no court date.
Another thing, in addition to what Attorney Sessoms stated, another priority is people who already have removal orders.
Well, I get
those folks have removal orders but have not left. Those people are priority, and so at that point in time, you're not entitled to an additional hearing. You already had your hearing, and they've already ordered you deported. You shouldn't have been here no way. Is their position?
I understand.
A lot of people may have a removal order because they haven't been able to obtain an immediate relative to file for them to change their status. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they are criminals or have committed any crimes. It just means that they have a removal order, and those people fall in line with what Attorney Sessoms is saying. They're going to be on a plane out of here. Now, if you are waiting for a hearing and you have not been granted a hearing date, what I'm hearing is that Guantanamo Bay is where they're going to send you to wait for your hearing date.
That's correct.
Then once you get your hearing date, they will bring you here, have your hearing, and then if you are ordered deported, then you will indeed be deported. You'll already be in their custody, so they can't lose you, essentially, and then they'll just go ahead and deport you. So that's what's going on with that.
I actually thought they may be doing it virtually, is what I think I read, that they may have virtual hearings, because a lot of the immigration judges have virtual capabilities, so they won't have to, because that's just going to be too expensive taking them from Guantanamo to all the different cities. So they'll have a virtual hearing like they do for people who are in federal detention.
Got it.
So that could also be. I also would like to say, though, that people can also have an expedited order of removal, as Attorney Judith said, if they fail to go to court. And so one of the key things here is if you do have a court date and it's coming up, you need to make sure you go to court, because if you don't, the judge can order an in absentia order of removal, deportation, and then you have an expedited order of removal because you didn't go to court. And so you're just giving them the ability to come and knocking on your door and looking for you. And if you have someone, like, let's say everyone in your house except maybe your uncle or your friend or someone is staying with you and they do not have status, everyone in that house could be questioned. And that's where it gets to be like, why are all these people getting questioned? It's because someone else put your address down as the place where they were staying, and then they will come knocking on the door for that reason.
And then we go back to Judith's number 1. Don't open the door.
Right. Exactly.
Open the door. Now, Judge,
we circle back to rule number 1.
Exactly.
Right.
Rule number 1.
I know we were talking about, so Judge Bendo, so business owner, you own a firm, we're in Facebook groups with people who own doctor's offices, that kind of thing. So what is a professional, if ICE shows up in my office, what do I do? And they're like, you got a worker back there, or you got a patient, is such and such being seen right now. We need to go get her or whatever. What can happen?
So I'm advising my clients not to let ICE in. And if they come in, because obviously if your door is unlocked, I'm asking you to leave. And we're not answering questions.
Okay.
We don't know nothing, and we're not answering questions. And this is a private practice, and you need to leave. Or I'm going to call the local police to put you out.
That just
So
like
that's
that.
the advice that I've been giving on my professional clients. And even I've been telling principals the same thing, because they had a countywide meeting that if they show up to your schools, ask them for a copy of whatever warrant they have, and then their district has set it up where you send it to a liaison at the headquarters, and then they're checking to make sure. Because I'm like, if it's not a search warrant, no ma'am, no sir, you're not coming in.
Yeah, because it would be no need to come in, because we're not. So what if they come with an arrest warrant or detention warrant for a student at school? Does the principal have to let them in at that time?
No, and that's what that goes back to what Judith was saying earlier. It has to be signed by an actual judge, because ICE officers can sign detainers and detention warrants. That's not worth the piece of paper. It's worth a piece of paper, but it doesn't give you the right to come in here, and it doesn't give me. I don't have to open the door because you got a paper signed by Officer Rodriguez. Do you have a warrant signed by Judge Bender from Clayton County with my name on it?
Oh, okay. So let's be clear and make sure everyone understands that. So the warrants that are presented have to be signed by an actual judge. So
a judge. They call them judicial warrants. Correct.
Judicial warrant. So if it's not a judicial warrant and it's just a warrant or detainer signed by
ICE warrant, correct.
You do not have to answer to that. So
That's
that's
correct.
information, because I would have saw warrant and I would have thought warrant means warrant. So
that's why you want to say slide it under the door, put it up against the wall, and I'm taking a picture. Let me text my lawyer real quick, or let me text my friend that's a paralegal that I know who might could get it to a lawyer. Because we have to make sure that it's like a valid, actual warrant that you're obligated to comply with.
Yes, and you do have the right to do that. You have the right to ask for time to do that. So don't feel bullied. Don't feel like you have to just jump to their orders. Ask for it to be slid under the door and take that time to do that. So now there was something that got signed yesterday into law, the Laken-Riley Act. And I think that's like one of the first legislations that was signed by Trump. Can you all explain what that is and its significance to immigration law?
Well, there was a young lady. She was a nursing student at University of Georgia that was killed. And the individual that killed her was an immigrant, someone who was here without legal status. And that caused Congress to begin working on putting a bill together called the Laken-Riley Act that passed the House and the Senate and went back to the House. And President Trump signed in, basically stating that if an individual has any type of crime, such as a theft, burglary, crime of violence, if it's just an arrest, they can be taken into custody by ICE and to federal custody. So that means that basically it's usually immigration says, well, if you're convicted, we're going to take you in. But the difference here is that you just have to have an arrest. And so that expands their authority, especially when it comes to people who may be legal permanent residents. I think a lot of people don't know that legal permanent residents have to be very careful, because certain crimes could make them lose their residency. And they could lose their residency by never leaving the United States, but just committing the crime. Or if they commit certain crimes like a theft crime and they leave the United States and come back, the Customs Border Patrol officer could take them into custody or tell them to go to deferred inspection to make a determination should they go into be placed in immigration removal proceedings. And so this kind of expands that to make like they cannot just get released. They're going to be detained, especially if it's for any of those types of charges.
Now imagine getting blamed for theft that you didn't do, and now you're in ICE custody and you didn't. And so think about vindictive people, how they're going to be able to take advantage of it, because an arrest now will get you detained by immigration.
Yeah, and it's that Judge Roberts and Fulton used to always say arrest or just harassment by the police, right? It can mean nothing. You could have not even been around when the crime got committed, and that's taking away some of your due process to put me in ICE detainment based off just an arrest. And I was telling some people, oh, well, the Irish NTX has, how can we say no on the roadblock stops? To get threatened of being a coyote. So how do they, if you get stopped on the roadblock and they're asking questions, how do you get past that roadblock? Because I mean, how does that work? Are you able at a roadblock just to say, no, I don't want to talk, and they have to let you go? How does that work?
I would ask for a warrant. If you want to search my car, provide me with a warrant to search my car. Like, I'm not going to just let you go and search my car, because that's what they try to do at the borders. They'll be like, we want to search your car, please get out. And be like, I need a warrant. Do not, it's just like on criminal, don't give consent.
No
you know how we always say, don't give consent? Do not give consent. Because once you get consent, you never know. Like, it's just, it opens up the door. So
yeah. And when you don't consent and they do something, then it gives us legal ways to fight it if they didn't have the legal right to search. So no to searches. So that answers that question. And we were talking about the arrest being just an arrest. Okay, go ahead. You were talking about the act. I'm sorry. Go back. Were we done talking about that act? But that does open the door. Oh, also to explain how like some jails in Metro Atlanta, I know like Gwinnett County is one, I believe Henry County, and they have a specific statute that's on the outside of the facility that they'll do like an ICE check. What is that about?
So they used to have, so just a little history for the listeners. So there were facilities back, I started practicing when Obama was president, and in immigration specifically. I started practicing before that, but with the immigration part, and they had something called 287G. And so there were certain facilities in Georgia that had ICE officers. That's what 287G meant. ICE officers that worked in the detention facility. And so they were work in the jail, and basically it was like a pipeline. So for me, that's how I kind of got into immigration, was because I did criminal, and then people get arrested for criminal and then go to an go to immigration court. And those officers would prepare the detainer, that attorney or Judge Bando said, and they would go to court, and then they would have to apply for a bond with immigration to get out of jail. Well, when Biden got in office, all of the 287G facilities went away. All the officers were taken out of the jails. And so it was kind of like a big, wow, okay, we don't have this. And they stopped arresting people for this. Like, it was no longer going on. And so, I'm not going to say stop arresting them, like a pipeline, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Right.
And I believe, I don't know if they've put 287G officers back in the facilities. Maybe you ladies know, but I think just the ICE officers are being contacted. So it's kind of like you check someone, you ask, and certain counties like Henry, Gwinnett, Cobb, Douglas, they're going to ask, what's your status? Or they're going to say, let me see that you're a proof of a citizenship. And if you can't show it, they're calling ICE. That's what my impression is. But you ladies may have some more information on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they run when everyone actually gets arrested, your national criminal history is ran, and also your local one. And so it shows up. I mean, I just know because I do first appearance as a judge. It shows up if you're actually here and what type of status. They literally have your picture that you took at the airport when you came to the airport. It's like printed on your actual history. So they actually have a good idea who's who. If you come in recent times anyway. If you've been here 30 years, it's a different story. But if you've immigrated legally through a border, they have your pictures now. So, if you've come in the last 20 years, your pictures are with if you have a criminal history, is with that.
Okay. Iris says that they have an attorney there that has people pay for a letter. They show ICE saying they have an attorney, and to contact him, basically just stopgap before hearings, etc. They will have to pay the attorney later. So is that something that you all are seeing attorneys do? That might be a good idea if you all aren't to start. I mean, would that help if you just show this letter like, here, I got an attorney? Is that going to kind of save you?
I don't know if that's going to save you. I know there's some attorneys out in California that are producing cards. There's one of my friends, and it's having like their pertinent information and then the attorney's information on the back. But I'm not going to say that that's going to stop the police.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's going to stop them, unfortunately.
Not when they have the encouragement of the administration, right?
Yes, I do know that. They don't like lawyers, and they don't like when lawyers get involved. And just this week, I think when they were chasing down my hair braider, they were texting her phone. So you know me, I text back. I'm a citizen. What you gonna do? Let's play.
Right.
And so I texted back, and then she didn't want to. I called her, and then she realized why and who I was calling about. She abruptly got off the phone with me. So they don't like lawyers because they know now you're gonna have to play fair.
Exactly.
Because I will sue you in federal court if you violate any of my clients' rights.
There you go. Let me. Somebody's asking if you have a work permit but was in removal and the lawyer got it paused. Should you be worried? What are your thoughts? My thoughts are I'm not sure what pause means. Whether what was it completely thrown out or
closure,
right?
Closed. Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews. I did hear, so I know when we first started, we talked about how can people get status. So there's a certain type of petition that you can do that's a self-petition called for people who have been victims of crimes. And usually it's for U visa holders. And I have heard through the American Immigration Lawyers newsletter, through their emails, that someone with a U visa permit that was just waiting for their U visa to get approved did get picked up and was removed. So I'm not going to say that it's a complete, like there's a safety net. I definitely think it's better than not having anything. But I think with that, they should have proof of their U visa or whatever their permit is, of their work permit, and then proof to show they've been here more than 2 years. Remember, their key target population right now is less than 2 years. So if you can show you've been here less than 2 years, because let's say you just got your work permit today, it doesn't show that you've been here more than 2 years. You still have to show going back. Okay. So I think that's what people should know, but that's what I would
I'd like to add, so they literally just came in today, my cards, and I did a know your rights on the back of the card. I mean, you can't really see it was backwards, but I literally, they can't, because so many people I've been calling and advising everybody. Mm-hmm. So I did just like you said, the California lawyers, do not open the door. Do not answer questions. Don't sign anything. Tell them you want a lawyer. I don't want to talk to you. I literally printed it on the back of these cards because this is so small, you just keep it in your pocket.
Exactly. Yeah. I also want to say one of the rights that I think a lot of people don't know is that they have the right to contact their consulate. They can contact their consulate, and the consulate can have services for them, or at least help them, especially if they feel that they've been targeted or if there's something that's been unfair or unjust. So that's another, option for them. Sometimes people don't want to speak and tell what country they're from, and that's fine. But if they find out, like if you have your passport on you, then that's something you would want to do.
Okay. Well, that's great advice, because there's one for every country here that people have access to. Okay.
And I love the countries who will not provide documents so you can deport their citizens back. Because it's like, if you just can't bring a person back because I said I'm from Guatemala. Where's my passport?
Exactly.
And if your country is a country who is obviously challenging the new administration, they were like, I don't know who Jose is. I don't know if Jose is Mexican or not. So I can't take him back. And then they'll bring Jose back. And then because immigration is like an administrative quasi-civil criminal proceeding, you can't just hold somebody in jail in a detention center indefinitely. And if Mexico never bring Jose his paperwork and Jose family will never bring their passport to ICE, Jose will eventually have to be released back to the streets of the United States.
Wow.
And that's how it's been, right? But what we think they're doing is that they're going to detain them, and then they're going to move them out of country. They're going to move them to Guantanamo so that they cannot be released back into, because they know that in the United States, attorneys are going to say, you can't detain my client indefinitely. They have rights under the Constitution. But if they're in Guantanamo, what can we do? There's no attorneys there. Who knows? They're just going to do whatever they want to do. And that's the concern.
And it's about 30,000 they stated that they would be able to take to Guantanamo Bay. So that's a lot of people.
I wouldn't want to be in that number. Not that 30,000.
A lot of people to ship to Cuba. So they're going to ship our people from U.S. to Cuba to hold until they can go through ICE. That's ridiculous. So Sheba Army Brat had a great question. So they shut down the Civil Rights Division. So would you be able to even file lawsuits at this time if they did violate your client's rights? Are you still able to file?
Yeah, you can still petition. You can still file. So I guess it's kind of two different pieces. But one, like if you're in unlawfully holding somebody, like you would still go to a regular federal court. You would file a habeas the same way you would do in state court, saying you can't unlawfully, detain me. I'm here. You can't deport me. So, but as far as if she's speaking more about just complaining about how the ICE officers' behavior is, I mean, this term is going to end. And so you can take it up with an administration that might care at a different time. But that's why I'm also telling video, take pictures, document, because it's always a day of reckoning. It'll be a day. I can't wait till the congressional hearings happen after this administration.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be a day of reckoning. And these ICE, whoever's been in charge now, they're gonna have to sit down and talk about how they remember those kids they separated and they still can't find their parents. It's gonna be a day of reckoning. It's I mean, we just have to bide our time, but it's coming.
And I just want to say, for those individuals who have kids, maybe you're a single mom and you're here and you don't have, like, your children are U.S. citizens and you are not from here, definitely get a plan together, because if you do get picked up, if the father's not around or the mother's not around, your children would go to DFACS, and that's something you don't want to happen. So you want to get set up a guardianship. So who's going to take care of your children and have them? I was actually having lunch today with a family law attorney who used to be an immigration attorney, and she said she's telling her clients, carry the proof of the guardianship, have your kids carry it with them. So if while they're at school, the parent gets picked up, they at least have that guardianship letter so they can contact with the contact information of who's supposed to pick them up. So there's no issue with them going to DFACS, because that is the worst. So you want to make sure you have that plan in place and you are proactive on that.
And I don't even understand why the administration would want to do something that would place kids into DFACS and receive public aid while we're shutting down federal loans. It just it doesn't make any sense. It's just, has it been thought through, or do they just not care? I just don't understand how placing a whole bunch of kids in DFACS is going to serve anyone. It just doesn't.
Well, I genuinely, and this is my opinion, so no one has to agree with it, but I genuinely believe that it is the pipeline to prison, pipeline to military is what they're doing. It's a way that they continue to fill their coffers and make money. But that's really what I think. And not to say that everyone who is in foster care ends up in trouble, but for a good number of folks, that is what happens, right? And so, or they go into the military, because the posture is that, women aren't making enough kids in America. And so that's causing issues. And that has a lot to do with why Roe v. Wade was thrown out, in the hopes that they can kind of fix the numbers, because women aren't having kids. And so I think that that's another way they're using different avenues to fill up their prisons and to fill up and to continue to fill up the military. That's what I believe.
And I also think that it goes to, Trump made a campaign promise, and he said he was going to deport 1 million people. And he is set on keeping that campaign promise. And I think we all need to remember, he's going to do whatever it takes for his supporters to get to that 1 million, because he knows that the last time he was in office, he only deported 200 and something thousand. Obama had deported during his administration's 400,000. So that's that he's trying to get those numbers, and the only way to do it is to do what they're doing and do it very rogue. I actually heard that, I think it was in I can't remember what city. It was a city up in the Midwest. They've actually have bounty hunters who said that they're going to be doing bounty hunting for anyone that's immigrant. So these are the types of things that's going on now. And that's why you have to know your rights so you can stay vigilant and stay protected.
I actually think it was Mississippi, because the people were like, you need to focus on funding education while you're trying to pay $1,000.
Bottom of the barrel. Right. It was Mississippi, but there was another, I think it was St. Louis, I want to say. It was another city that was up in the Midwest, or like in that middle part of America. So yeah.
So now
there's a quota The ICE officers have a quota of 75. The number is 75 a day.
A day.
And this is with the threat of termination if they don't meet their quotas, is my understanding.
And that's why they're going for low hanging fruit.
Right.
Why they're going for my hair braiders. People just they know her schedule is work, grocery store, home, and church. I mean, it's predictable, and so they're going for people who are and they're easily intimidated. Like she was like, call them so we can meet. We're not meeting with them. This meeting is going to end up with you in handcuffs.
Right. We don't even meet with the regular police. So do not talk to the police. Okay. So now the birthright citizenship threat. What did that mean? Can he do anything to that? I thought it was tied to the 14th Amendment, which was something that was bigger than
the president. An act of Congress. Like, you know how people say an act of Congress? Right. He cannot sign an executive order on that.
That would shut down the day it came out.
It would be the Congress, Senate. It would take the whole shebang for that to happen.
Because then I was thinking, I didn't think that his wife was a citizen. And so then would that make his son? She is. Is she an immigrant?
2006, she's a naturalized citizen.
But she's an immigrant. That's I meant to say that she was an immigrant. So then would that have affected their child or no, because she became a citizen prior to his birth? Like, it was just crazy. So I'm glad that was shut down, because what did that even mean? You can't just change the 14th Amendment.
Well, it's shut down for now. 18 states got together and a Washington state judge stopped it, but it just means it's going to continue to go up. They'll take it to the Court of Appeals. They'll take it, his goal is to get everything up to the Supreme Court because that's his court. He stacked it. And so we'll see. But I would assume that, they would say the same thing, like Judge Bando said. It has to be an act of Congress. And even though he does have the House and the Senate, he would have to have 2/3. That's a very big number that we don't believe he's able to meet. Does he have 2/3?
It was just a flipping Senate by a special election where it was a Republican seat, but a Democrat won. So I have to check to see what the new numbers are with that. When you said that, it just made me think about that.
Yeah, so let's hope he doesn't get the numbers, because like you said, that's what I believe the whole thing is, to get everything to the Supreme Court. That's how we got Roe v. Wade overturned. I mean, we could get Brown versus education overturned, Plessy versus Ferguson, like everything that gave us rights. I mean, we could wake up and be back to being 3/5 a man if we start to tangle with this 14th Amendment. And it's just so scary to see us in that light. I mean, it's 2025. And you would think that we would be progressing, but it almost feels like we're getting taken back to pre-65. And it's just so scary and so disappointing. So I know my time is coming to an end with you all. So Judith, you were giving us a list. We got don't open the door, ask for a warrant, stay silent. And what were those other?
Know your rights, make a plan, and that's in line with what Attorney Sessoms was saying. Prepare an emergency plan for your family. Designate someone to care for your children, finances, or other responsibilities if you are taken into custody. So this is a great time for people to have legal guardianship documents in place, to have your estate planning in order. This is the time to do it. Keep your documents safe, passports, birth certificates, immigration papers. Keep them in a safe and accessible place. Have copies of those documents, right? So that you don't have the original, but you keep one in your car, right? Keep one in your wallet if you need to have those things, if they ask for some sort of identification. Memorize important phone numbers. We know people don't remember numbers anymore. And I tell people, remember your immigration lawyer's number, okay? And another important family member who's a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. Have those two numbers memorized. Don't sign any documents that ICE gives you without consulting an attorney. You could unknowingly sign away your rights. Do not sign anything without being sure of what you're signing. If you're in a position to record the encounter or have a family member or friend who can record your encounter with the ICE agent, as long as you're not interfering with their work, you're able to record the encounter. Please stay calm. Do not run. Do not resist. Remain calm, be respectful, but be firm about what your rights are. And also educate your family. Teach everyone in your household what to do if ICE arrives. Everyone needs to be prepared. Okay?
Yes.
That's
thank you. And that's what it's all about. It's about knowing your rights and being prepared. So before we wrap up, Judge Bando, we're just gonna come around the room. Are there any closing thoughts or anything that we didn't touch on that you want to hit before I let you lovely ladies leave me?
No, I would just like to reiterate, do not talk to ICE officers. Stop talking to them. Tell them you want to speak to a lawyer. That if you don't take anything else from this conversation, shut up. That's it.
Yes, we have a great series on this channel about that. Shut the F up and take the ride. Like, we do not talk. We do not talk to regular police. We don't talk to ICE. So if it's a regular police officer, you show your ID and identify yourself and shut up. If it's ICE, we don't talk to them, period. You don't even have to identify yourself. Thank you so much. Mrs. KP Bailey says good info. Thank you. All right, Ms. Sessoms, before we head out, any last words?
All of you were just saying great things. I think one thing that, just to touch on, if you don't understand it, don't sign it. Don't try to speak, even if you know English but you don't feel comfortable. Again, it's just being quiet. It's the biggest thing. And also, we've got great immigration attorneys. You call someone and get an appointment set up if you don't, or tell your friends, because the worst thing is for your family member to have to go find an attorney and you don't have an established relationship.
correct.
It's like, have that relationship already established, have someone they know, your go-to, so that if it happens, they know exactly who to call, which goes to, Attorney Judith's thing. Have a plan. Make sure you have that plan, because if it happens, you want to know, okay, these are the numbers, this is the call, and this is how I'm going to move forward. Because we're all here to support everyone and make sure that you know your rights throughout the entire process.
Yes, and that's what it's all about. My hair braiders on here. Lucci, thank you for tuning in. Like, look, we gonna ride for them hair braiders. Don't leave them alone.
Lucci, do we need to come to the shop, girl? Let everybody know.
Okay. Yeah, she is here legally, but yes, we will come and ride. So that is because it just touches so many. A lot of people, like we said before, the administration is making it seem as if it's one racial group of people, but it affects all. There are immigrants here in this country from Europe, from Asia, from every place in the globe. A lot of people come here for that American dream. And so to hear that people could have been here for 20 to 30 years, buying into that American dream, and by buying into it, paying taxes. And so before we leave, let's touch on, I'm sorry, I know I started to let y'all go, but y'all know how attorneys be in court. I got one more question. Y'all know how to say one more question. Okay, so I just want to hit the naysayers before we leave, because people say negative things like, they don't pay taxes, they are using up our health care, they are getting all the free benefits, they giving the immigrant SNAP benefits, they getting free housing, they getting this, and I got to stand in, I got to work to buy my groceries. So can we just speak to those myths before we head up out of here?
Just really quickly, I think on that, when you're preparing, if a lot of my clients pay taxes, have your tax returns printed and ready, because that shows proof that you've been here, because they usually will have your W-2. But that is completely a myth. People pay taxes. They want to be able to show that they've been here. It goes proof of their physical presence here. And so that is completely a myth. And for them to be able to apply for benefits, it's for their children who are citizens, not for them personally. If their citizen children are able to get it, then they're eligible, and they don't disqualify for that.
And they're not. And then when they overpay, they're not like U.S. citizens who are filing like, "Give me my refund, I need my money." They're not even claiming them. They're not actually claiming their refunds back.
Exactly.
So think about all these years their money that they were owed because it was taken out of their check and they overpaid. They're not illegal. They're not filing for their tax refund for all 4 or 5 of their kids. They are not doing that. This country has made millions of dollars off of overpayment of taxes from unlawful immigrants.
That's
true.
That's right.
That is so true. And what about healthcare? Like someone was saying that they're overtaxing our healthcare system because we have to provide healthcare to them, but if they're not paying taxes, but then that ties into they do pay taxes. So I mean, is that pretty much it? Like all of that is just rhetoric that is thrown out there, but not actual rhetoric.
It's rhetoric and it's ignorance.
It
is. And even when you try to tell people and educate people that immigrants absolutely do pay taxes, and one of the conditions for them to even adjust their status is they have to show that they have been paying taxes. They have to. And if they don't, they have to get their taxes in order before we're able to file their taxes. So they are absolutely paying taxes.
And under federal law, anyone homeless, no status, can get medical emergency treatment at a federally funded hospital. So it's under federal law. So they have the right, if it's a medical emergency, they can get treatment. They're not just going there to just, oh, let me go get my toe checked. It's like under federal law. So no, it's totally rhetoric.
And that law applies to everyone. So Brandy Southern Girl asks any immigration attorney suggestions for Raleigh. And immigration law, that's federal. So your attorney can be anywhere, right? Or do you have to find someone in your state?
No, anywhere.
Anywhere. So you all can look at these lovely ladies here. They all have offices in Atlanta. I will go back and add all of their contact information to the description of this video, so it'll be there forever. Thank you, ladies, so much. This was so informative. I saw someone's comment saying they don't like this content. Like, we're not gonna always be talking about Diddy and ASAP Rocky. Like, regular people, everyday life have things that they need to know their rights about. And so that's what this show was about. This affects us all. And so we really just all needed to be educated, because with the raise going, like Ms. Sessoms told us about the family, I'm learning Spanish now because I'm going to be traveling later this year. So I could be out and speaking Spanish, and now I'm getting stopped or questioned by ICE. And that goes for each and every one of you all. So this is about
just the practical stuff like they're talking about. As far as, do you know what grocery prices is about to look like? Who's picking the strawberries, onions, and the chickens and the eggs? Exactly. They're not. They are leaving. A lot of people are leaving on their own accord outside of deportation. You think grocery prices are high? Hold on, real tight.
Hold on, because they tried something in Atlanta a few years ago. Remember, they were trying to hire Black people or whoever wanted to sign up,
and they would not go. Nobody went to the chicken plant.
Them like $12 an hour to go pick strawberries, and it's like they were falling out.
Exactly. Yeah, they were falling out. They couldn't even handle the heat. Right. And I would say, I know this isn't like the normal topic, but 21 Savage, he was in Atlanta. He is an immigrant. He's from Canada. So there's a lot of people that are famous that have immigration issues too. So it's just, it brings, his issue got resolved, but it was a big thing at the time. So, and a lot of people are married to people who are not like Trump. He is. So he should. You don't understand. Why is he doing this? But that's right. It touches your life in so many ways that you don't even realize until the rates go up, the prices go up, and the things don't happen anymore like you used to have them.
Yeah. And when hearing Judith talk about how kids, or you about the guardianship, how I could drop my kids off to school and not be able to go pick them up. I just can't even fathom that. And to know that you now have to have that conversation with your child to explain to them that mommy loves you, but every day that I leave you, I may not come back and see you. That is horrible that anyone even has to go through that. So thank you all so much for being here and sharing your knowledge. Oh, yes.
I'm just going to say really quick, Judge Bando mentioned that her client was getting text messages. This is a new thing that they're doing, is texting. Because I had somebody call me yesterday, Kim, after the ICE officers are texting people who are on ICE report. So if they start a text thread with you, do not respond, because that's still like, you might think like, oh yeah, hey, how are you? No, it's not a conversation. It's not something to have because they're probably geo-tracking where you're at and finding your location. So stop.
Delete in black.
Yeah.
Right. Delete in black.
Delete in black and call a new phone number.
Exactly. Like I thought, there's so much fraud going on out here. I do not want to be part of it, so I just blocked it.
Block it, delete and block. Yes,
yeah.
Yes. You are so welcome. Karen Singleton says, time is priceless. I appreciate this panel taking the time to educate us on this hot topic. You are so welcome. So yes, I agree with Miss Karen Singleton. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. All right, guys, I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So I appreciate each and one of you. Kamala Sessoms, Judge Bando, Attorney Judith Montgomery. Thank you so much. These ladies are all awesome immigration attorneys here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll put their contact information in the description. If you need an immigration attorney, no matter where you live in the U.S., contact these three amazing attorneys. Thank you all so, so much. Have a great day, ladies. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. So yes, thank you all so much for tuning in. This was amazing. Like I just had to get them up because y'all know I do criminal law, so I couldn't do this show without them. I could not educate you about this topic, but I knew that this was something that I wanted to make sure everyone was able to get. So yes, Brandy, I will be dropping their information. I'll add it to the description link. Give me about 10 minutes or so after the show. It'll be updated. And I'll be back tonight, guys, because there are updates in Diddy's case. So brought you some knowledge tonight, and we're going to talk about Diddy later on. So I'll see you all back. Stay tuned. I'll drop the thumbnail soon. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, while this has been legal commentary, we are not your attorneys. So this has only been legal education. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in court.